Guess what? We're in my car and it broke. God's doing something because mad. So here's the deal, right? I'm going to go and pick up an engine because I need a flywheel. So I'm getting a whole engine because that's what you do. And then my engine goes. It's like, yeah, well that's useful. So now I'm not picking up an engine. But after ringing around a whole pile of people, my neighbour is coming to pick me up and take me home because I only made it like 10 minutes down the road. Sump plug fell out. What happens when your sump plug falls out? Or your oil falls out. What happens when your oil falls out? Your engine gets really hot and it starts making clunking noises, and then you pull over and turn it off as quick as you can. And
freak your sister out in the process.
Hopefully it doesn't completely destroy the motor, the engine. But then if it does completely, well, then I've got another one available. Just have to go and pick it up. How do I pick it up when my car's broke? That's where you have a sister with a car with a tow ball. But the tow ball or the tow bar is not on the car right now. So then we have to put the tow bar on the car. Once we put the tow bar on the car, then we can get the trailer from this car onto that car. And then we can, but before we do that, we have to get this car off the side of the road so it doesn't get blown up. Because any car that's left on the side of the road, anywhere between here and where my church is, which is an hour away, they get blown up. So, yeah. I don't want that to happen. So anyways, now, if the engine's still going to run and be all good by sticking a new sump plug in and a new bit of oil in, no worries. If it is cooked, I'm going to have to get that engine, rebuild it to suit this car, which is like going to be a lot of work. So I'll be busy all day tomorrow if this happens.
Unless...
and if I can go and get that engine.
This is actually okay
Unless
with this one.
it all just works. Which... Lazarus rose from the dead 4 days later, and this will probably all be sorted 4 hours from now, so I'm going to say this car's going to rise from the dead, but we will see. And meanwhile, we've been able to take a happy snap, which is going to be the thumbnail for this little funky video that we're making, which we don't make that often anymore because we got issues up here. And like... yeah.
That's all it is, really.
Yeah,
that
we just
one
got
and that
issues.
one.
yeah.
No other problems. There's nothing else going on in life.
No, we don't have like broken cars and way too much mud. My goodness, I got like 3 cars bogged today because we got rain at my house.
Yeah, and 2 of the cars wouldn't start.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 of them wouldn't start.
Good.
I had to put my 4-wheel drive into 4-wheel drive mode to be able to drive like up my driveway. Crazy. Not really, it was actually in my paddock.
But it was fun watching your 4B slide your Suzuki sideways to straighten it out again by a tow rope.
Videoed that.
Yeah. Should have.
It was like watching a front wheel drive do a burnout to the right with the handbrake on. A bit like that.
That was good fun.
So anyways,
it was a bit scary watching a driverless car.
Driverless car get tugged.
With no way of stopping it.
Yep. So we are going to keep doing what we're doing, and you'll find out the rest of the story either as it continues or when we feel like telling you.
One or the other.
Yeah. Mad. Anyways, ciao for now.
Have a top day.
So there it is, I got the cover off, and this is what was missing. See? Strainer. No strainer. Strainer. So that was irritating. A bunch of work getting that strainer out for no real benefit, because 1300, 1600, 1300, 1600. It's too little. bigger engine, bigger oil flow required. So now 1600, I have to get it out of that one. So that's just too bad. So here it is. Got the engine out. It's on the ground. So there you go. And we're going to continue tomorrow. Hopefully everything just bolt swaps and works well, but we will find out. So here's when things go south. Engine out, gearbox off, clutch and flywheel off. I'm going to try and put the other flywheel on. Now this is the old flywheel, this is the new flywheel. Don't know if you can tell, but they're a different size. That's okay, that was the plan. That's off a smaller engine, that's off the correct engine. Next problem. We have old, smaller engine spigot bearing or pilot bearing, and we have new flywheel, bigger spigot or pilot bearing. Bigger internal diameter, smaller internal diameter. And we also have the issue of new clutch plate for new flywheel. Fits well. If I line up those edges on this side, too big. So we could get around that, I thought. Perhaps by cheating by putting old clutch plate on new pressure plate. Because if you look on the inside there, all the way around you've got a good bit of little contact. And then this would fit too. But on the new one, a little bit of space there on the inside of the flywheel. Nothing there for quite some distance. So then, if you also compare the gearbox input shaft spline, that size, so that won't fit on the input shaft of any of the gearboxes that I have. So there we have another problem. So I now have a head gasket, so I'll be able to sort all this out. The flywheel issue I've managed to resolve, but it's not going to be the way that I wanted to. It's going to be a different way, so that's fine. Going to have to use a different gearbox to the one that I had already in the car, and I'm going to get on with it. So here we go. So it's been running not too bad really. Don't know if you can see in there, but there's a little bit of not nice looking black markings on the bore, but we'll check them out a bit later. Now here is the pickup that I need, and hopefully it fits. But if you look, when you have no oil, you have a crank and a conrod down there, and a conrod there, and a, ooh, that looks different, doesn't it? A black overheated conrod there. Quite likely the bearing inside has chewed itself up, and then that one doesn't look so bad. So definitely that one has been overheated and it's doing all sorts of who knows what. So as you can see, this block is very nice and clean, but sadly overheated. It could be rebuildable, but this one is a bit yucky. But we're going to use that one because this one's going to cost money, and that one was free. Expensive flywheel that I can't use, and a free block. Yeah, mad. Very sad because this one's very clean on the inside. Very, very clean. You can see even on the sidewalls there, everything's so clean, and this is still gold. And this one, black through, brown and nasty. Too bad, so sad. Strainer. So I got the cap off for the con rod, and now you can see quite a lot of damage on the crank there, which is very sad because it means that it's either going to have to be machined or replaced. These ones I'm yet to have a look at. You can see the bearing here pretty chewed up. And you can also see on the inside of the cap there's some blue markings, so it did get quite hot, which is very sad. But what are you going to do? Apparently it can be worse. While I was at it, put the sump back on, and I gave it a little bit of black paint just to make it look a little pretty instead of ruddy. All the paint was flaking off and all that. I put the flywheel on, which looks pretty bad. I'm going to have to clean that up a little. And I'm about to put the clutch back on. So here we go. So I just cleaned the flywheel up a little bit. It would be great if I had a machine shop or machining tools at my house, but I don't, and I also don't have enough money to go and buy me a new flywheel. So it's just going to have to do. So we've got all the head bolts tightened and put the cover on, and we're ready to go get a gearbox bolted to it and stick it in the car. So I've also had to change the cam gears. These ones are a fair bit thicker than those ones because we've got a bigger crank timing gear down there, a bigger pulley there, slightly different water pump by the looks of it, and it's all got to line up. And I'm going to put a bigger timing belt on also, closer to standard G13B 1.3 litre. Here we go. Put a timing belt on. We had to change to the smallest pulley I have there. Had to put the 1.3 pump on because the 1.6 pump has a different offset for that pulley there. And we put the bigger crank pulley on, which you can't really tell from my angles. Bigger crank pulley, cam pulley I should say. And turned it over, it seems to be quite fine. We'll continue on and see how we go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this fuel regulator off, and we're going to replace it with a small adapter piece that removes the regulator, because I have installed an aftermarket adjustable fuel pressure regulator so that I can monitor how much pressure we're getting from the pump to the fuel rail and back. So there it is. The new fuel regulator bypass is bolted on and attached to its hose, ready to go through the manifold down there all the way into its fuel regulator, which will hopefully work brilliantly. Alright, so we've got the timing belt on, which was a bit of a mission, and timing case, we've got the water pump on, which is a 1.3 water pump, because the 1.6 doesn't allow, with the tensioner for the timing belt, to reach over these cam pulleys. Our balancer and fan belt on. And I've had to go with a 1.3 standard box because the gearbox that I had for the GTI setup has some broken parts inside of it, because these bolt holes here are for a 17mm bolt. The thread, you either have to get a step down stud with a 14mm nut for the end, or just grind out the bits in there with either an oversized drill or a die grinder, which takes forever. We'll drill some holes, smooth it off so your head of your bolt will go down there, or you can get an adapter kit. Here I've just ground down a nut on the one side as a spacer so that the head of my bolt is still usable, and I can turn the head of the bolt while the thread goes into where it should. This is how you hold up an engine when you don't have an engine stand.